Hello, it's Duncan. There was a lot of discussion on my Death to All Classes episode, where I showed how to use functions instead of classes to implement polymorphism. You can click there to watch it if you haven't already. The consensus was that functions have some advantages over classes because they can be combined more easily, but that's sometimes at the expense of expressiveness. Can Typealiases and fun interfaces bridge the gap? Let's find out. So many options. I had quite a long discussion with David A., International Man of Mystery, in the comments to the Death to All Classes Gilded Rose episode. He asks about having a type alias or maybe a fun interface for our item to unit, and complains that function types sometimes just don't document their intent well enough. Now, to be honest, I hadn't really considered fun interfaces, and I've always found type aliases a bit of a curate's egg, so let's go back to that code and have a look at both of them. Okay, then here we are. This in package com generic is our generic magical goods store. It looks after a list of items for us and knows how to update it, which is to say it loops over them and calls an update function. And this update operation has a function type. It takes an item and returns unit, and the reason it does that is because item is mutable. So what it actually does is change the sell-in and the quality of an item. So I think we'd call update a strategy. We create a magical goods store with this function here, and slightly confusingly, it takes a function that takes an item and returns a function that takes an item returned unit. And what this is doing is looking up a way to update a particular item given the item. We'll come back to that in a minute. If we look at where this is called, we have two magical goods stores, the OG Gilded Rose. Here it is. I will pop it off to the right there. And Gilded Rose has this concept of item type. Here it is as a data class, and that implements item to unit. And then here we look up the right type of item, either standard, sulfurous, etc., and then conjure them and then pass them off to the magical goods store, which knows how to update. Polished Daffodil takes a more object-oriented approach. This polished item type is an open class which implements this item to unit, and we have subclasses of that. So we have other and cheddar, passes, and these are subclasses of our polished item type. And the reason that these two different white label magical goods stores are able to operate with the generic one here is that the generic one here just specifies item to unit, which can be implemented either by an open class here or by a data class here. So let's see what will happen if we introduce a type alias for this item to unit. We'll do it in here first of all. So we'll take this item to unit, so refactor this and introduce type alias. At the time of recording, by the way, this isn't supported by the K2 compiler, but I hope it'll come back soon. So we'll do that. Now, what name should this have? IntelliJ suggests item to unit, which is very literal. There are two ways to think about a better name. One is that we name the operation, in which case that would be update item. And another way would be to name the type. And if we name the type, I think that's more item updater. Or we can use the fact that everywhere else we call this item type, because the point of an item type is to update an item. I don't know, let's call it item type like that. When we do, IntelliJ is good enough to notice that there's another one in this file, and it's here, this update. I'm going to allow it to do that one as well, because that shows that there's an issue here with the name. Here, we're looking up an item type for an item. In here, though, this is not item type, it's how to update an item. This then is not an item type, it's an updater. Does that make sense? I think it does. So if we're going to use this type alias in both these places, we want to give it the more generic name, which is update item. In which case, when we use it here, we're saying we can use an item to look up a way of updating an item. And here, this update is just something we pass an item in order to have it updated. Hold that thought, we'll come back to it in a minute, because this type alias here has only been used in this file. We haven't updated these item to unit here and in Polished Daffodil similarly. I'm going to take the dangerous step of replacing this with a global search and replace. So I'm going to replace item to unit with update item. I want to replace the one in Gilded Rose, yes. I don't want to replace the type alias with itself, but I do want to do the one in Polished Daffodil. Good. Now if you come back here though, you'll see an issue with type aliases, and that is that we have to import them. Now importing them is easy enough. I can do it there and there. But compared to the raw function type, I've gained an import. That's coupling between this code and this code. Now at the moment, of course, these are intimately coupled anyway, but there will certainly be situations where we'd have to jump through hoops to have all three of these pieces of code being able to share the definition of update item. Also, IntelliJ has historically not really honoured type aliases. So for example, if I had a fun here, foo, that returns cheddar, and irritatingly needs to be private for a bit, and I specify the return type of that, Then I'm being given the options of cheddar, the lowest level type, the super type of polished item type, but then item to unit here and not the update item that polished item type declares. So if I select that and don't explicitly replace it with update item, then the effect is that over time our type aliases disappear from the codebase. Interestingly, if I undo that and go to K2, then it does offer the update item type alias instead of the raw function type. Anyway, returning to the expressiveness problem with function types, let's say our magical goods store also has a fun to save. And it's going to say for item in items, save item. Now, if we want how to save to be a strategy as well, then we could put that in here. We could say private val save. And you notice that IntelliJ actually offered the right function type, which is item to unit, which we could conveniently default to doing nothing for now. But now we have two completely different operations, and they have the same signature. They're both item to unit. We sort of hinted at the difference by using the type alias here and the raw function type here. In fact, we could go further. We could say, let's have a type alias which is save item, which is also item to unit. And then we use that in there. Now that's fine, but it doesn't stop us using something that is update item in place of save item. It's a bit convoluted, but we can in fact take this whole lambda here and put it inside here as well. So if we have that, then when we think we're saving, actually we're calling this lambda here, which is going to end up updating. The problem is that type aliases don't actually define a new type. They're really just a template for this string here. I'm going to undo that and say there may be ways to disambiguate these two type aliases. So for example, if our save item was a spend fun, then that would make that a suspend fun, and now these two would be different types. In Java days, the save item would have declared that it threw IO exception. That would have disambiguated. And maybe someday we'll get contexts back into Kotlin so that we can make save item require some sort of IO context. If we aren't dug out of this hole with the function signatures, then maybe we should be using an interface. So in this case, we could say that save item was not a type alias, it is an interface. And in that case, we get to name its operation. So this would be fun save. That takes an item and returns unit. This is the more traditional OO way of specifying a strategy. Looking at where we're using it here, I think we had the type versus operation issue, that we should probably call this item saver, and down here that should be saver, and then in here we could say saver.save. Now in this case that nearly compiles. There's just one issue here, which is that we can't just implement an interface with a lambda, despite the fact that it only has one operation. I'm going to put an implementation in here, just a stub, and now there's a longhand way of getting this to work, which is to say I want an object that implements item saver, implement the members, save, and that's where I want my printer. But the fact that I'm having to type item here shows how much less convenient the object with an override is than the lambda, but it does at least compile. Kotlin 1.4 relieved this pain by allowing us to mark interfaces as fun. And if we have a fun interface, then we can get rid of all this malarkey. There's normally an intention for it, but it seems to have disappeared for a little while. But we should be able to say that. So these fun interfaces give us some of the convenience of lambdas with the type safety of interfaces and the nice fact that we can name the operation. But note that like our type alias, both users and providers of the operation need to be able to see the definition of the type. Let's see if we can refactor this update item type alias into an interface and then maybe a fun interface. I think maybe a way to do that would be to introduce the interface here. So we'd say I want an interface I update items that implements update item with no implementation. And now I'll make that a fun interface. Now because the magical goods store is still working in terms of update item, I should be able to go to polished daffodil, for example, and say that our polished item type is an I update items. That makes this unused. Does that still build? It does. Let's have a look at Gilded Rose. Its gilded item type we can now make I update items. And now I'm going to go here and give us a named operation. So that will be fun update that takes an item. And the AI has suggested that I implement invoke in terms of update, but I think that's the wrong thing. We want to go the other way. We want to say update item equals invoke item. I haven't run the test for a long time, but that is all still good. And now I wish I could think of a good refactor for this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse that definition. So I'm going to say that invoke is going to call update, and update is going to be abstract, and that will break here. So I need to make that update. It will break somewhere else, no doubt. There we are, polished item type. We also need to make that update. But that fixes the things. Now all of our implementations are in terms of update. We can find the places that invoke the invoke. I suspect the easiest way to do that is just to delete this type alias altogether. Remove that. Fix that to I update items. We now know that that is update. This again is going to be I update items. And again, this is going to be update.update. And again, there's this issue between nouns and verbs. So I think that is now a noun, which is updater. Is that good? Well, a little bit of work. And what is the issue here? Polished daffodil type lookup. This quite conveniently shows one of the disadvantages of fun interfaces compared to function types. This polished daffodil type lookup used a function here, no-op, to implement what happens with brimstone. But we can't use function references for fun interfaces. We know that this needs to return I update items, and I suppose that we're going to have to say that this is an I update items based on a lambda that does nothing. Good. As I think I might have said when we introduced this item saver over here, I'm not really sure why it is we need this name here. After all, the compiler knows that it's looking for an I update items here. If I take that out, I feel maybe it should try a little harder to interpret that lambda. Note that we could write a thunk ourselves. So if we had a function called updater, ask IntelliJ to create that for us. That indeed does want to take a function, but I think the function wants to be item to unit. That needs to return an I update items. Yes, that's right. And how do we make that work? Well, we need to return an I update items, where in the lambda, it invokes the function. We can then get rid of a whole lot of that lot. And then this could be updater on no-op. It turns out that giving a name to the operation is both a blessing and a curse. With functions, the name is always invoke, and that means that we can write functions that automatically know how to invoke other functions. In order to illustrate that, I think I'm going to create a version of this function that is able to take item to old signature, which was item to unit. And in that case, this will just be invoke. Now that will allow me to go back to Gilded Rose here and remake it in terms of item to unit. Are we there? Well, I feel we should be. What's the issue here? Magical goods store. Oh, it doesn't know which one it's calling. I'm just going to say 2 in here and 2 in here for now. All is still good. Now Gilded Rose already has the option to conjure any item type. And it does that by taking a gilded item type and copying it, because it's just a data class, degrading twice as quickly. That's only the degradation though, not the aging. What if we wanted a cursed item that both degraded and aged twice as quickly? Well, we might want to write that as, let's reformat this as a when, and then we'll say if it name starts with cursed, then we want cursed base. So now cursed is going to be quite like conjured, so in fact I'm just going to take this thing and duplicate it, and we could say that cursed is base copy degradation 4 equals that, and aging equals 2, or more to the point, aging equals base aging times 2. Now that compiles, but it's sort of intimately connected with this implementation of the gilded item type. If we added other things that changed, we'd have to remember to double them here. However, if we put the return type of this in, it's gilded item type, but it could also be item to unit. And if it's item to unit, then we could implement this with a function that takes item, I'm going to drop that down there, and takes our base and applies it to the item, and then takes our base again and applies it to the item. Now then, this cursed doesn't actually care that its base is gilded item type. That can happily take item to unit as well. That, though, seems like quite a general pattern. If we were to make this into a block body, specify that we want a val repeat equals 2. Say repeat, where the action is calling base on item. Oh, and of course I wanted that to be repeat. Now I can extract this thing into its own method. We'll call it repeat as well. I'm going to make this into a parameter, which is in a bad place at the moment. And now this function really doesn't care about this item type. So we should be able to say, oh, but we're using K2. Never mind, I'll do it by hand. We'll say this is going to take some t and take some base that takes a t and returns a unit. It in turn is going to return a function that takes t and returns unit. And that can no longer be item, that's going to be any t. I think the issue now is because we made this signature generic, it thinks we're calling ourselves. So I'm going to call this repeat fun, and we'll put repeat fn in there. Some issue here we don't care about, and I think we can convert that back to an expression body. This then, though, is a really nice generic function that we can use in other places. And you can imagine having t1 and t2. So these things are composing functions, and then we're implementing cursed in terms of composing functions. Cursed is repeat the function twice. If we were to try to do the same thing in polished daffodil, where we're still using iUpdateItems, what would that look like? Well, we'd have a fun called cursed that takes a base, which is iUpdateItems, and you can see the AI wants to call repeat function passing it the base, but it can't because this base is an iUpdateItems. So now we need to tell it the name of that one operation. That I think makes this call valid, but this call isn't returning an iUpdateItems. We can fix that, I think, by calling updata, the one we've just defined above, and everything is good. But you can see that the name means that we've had to thunk twice compared to the function version. Once here to use the operation in iUpdateItems, and another to create an implementation of that interface. So this is what functional programmers mean when they say that objects aren't as composable as functions. Functions are sort of automatically easier to compose because they only have one operation, and so we don't have to keep on choosing it. In some ways, Kotlin allows us to have our cake and eat it too. We could, for example, make this iUpdateItems, implement item to unit. Now the compiler is complaining about the fun modifier, but in fact we can add the implementation ourselves. So we could do that thing. Yes, that's great, thank you. Because fun interfaces are allowed to have other operations, it's just that only one of them can be abstract. If we've done this, then we could just use base in our repeat fun, because the base is an iUpdateItems, and iUpdateItems is item to unit. So many options. Well, I think I should probably stop here. My preference in code bases is usually for raw function references, although the knowledge that IntelliJ is supporting Typealiases better these days is leading me in their direction. And I'm still hopeful that context receivers or context parameters or whatever it is we end up actually getting will help with disambiguating things like saving and updating. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to read more, then you should buy the book that wrote me that price called Java to Kotlin and Refactoring Guidebook. Chapter 16 looks at these things in a lot of detail, including interop with Java. Thanks for watching.